Hello, everyone, and welcome once again. I am JT, aka the Master, and as you see behind me, Jerry Taylor presents the Master Plan. I am talking fantasy football, like I always talk, fantasy football, and we're going to be talking about today my fantasy football mock draft 2.0. And let me bring in my co-host with no picture again, but that's okay. That's fine. I'm used to it. I'm used to seeing this avatar versus an actual person, but it is what it is. How come? What's up, my man? How you doing today?
I'm doing well. I was trying to figure out what were you over there crying at looking at on TV for like 5 minutes when the show was supposed to be on.
Crying. What you like crying?
You up there wiping your face and tears from your face about the Pittsburgh Pirates and all that other stuff. You up there? I don't know what that was about.
I don't know about wipe my face, man. I was just watching the end of a $1 million arm. I don't know if you ever seen it before. No.
No,
Okay.
but
Million.
I thought you were like tearing up. I was like,
No.
this dude's supposed to
No.
be doing the show, and he's
No.
tearing up.
I wanted to see the end of it because I had seen bits and pieces of it, but not completely to the end. So I wanted to see the end, and I apologize for being late to the show. But
Your
it's
own show, you're late to.
my but I'm about to say this is my own show. So if I'm late, I'm late. It is what it is. Regardless of what that is, I wanted to talk about my favorite subject, fantasy football. Talking about go weekend practically every single weekend. Sometimes I got other obligations I got to attend to, but talking about fantasy football, and we're talking about my mock draft. And I know this one, Mr. FSP is going to say, "Oh hell no!"
Well,
I know.
that's why I tuned in, because you just so sure I'm gonna say hell no to it. I
Oh
just
oh.
said I'm a try to prove him wrong, but
Well,
he probably made a list
no,
that's
wait a minute.
just terrible.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me just lay this down right now. And I've been laying it down ever since I've been doing mock drafts. They are just that, mock drafts. They are not for real. So you can disagree, but to what degree? I mean, because they're just mock drafts. They're just an opinion, a temporary opinion, because it ain't for real. It's just a mock. You may disagree. You may. No, I mean, I don't know why you're going to prove me wrong. I'm just saying it's a mock. Okay, it's one person's opinion. It's one person's opinion. You may not agree with it. Okay, that's fine. But I'm going to lay this out right now, and then we'll go down from 12 to 1. And here it is. All right, let's go down to 12. At number 12, as you can see, it is Mr. Stephon Diggs that I have sitting there. And I got to
Yeah,
say
you're
this.
right. I'm gonna say hell no to some of this. I'm gonna just say hell no to some of
I,
this.
I know that for a fact. Okay. I know that
A
for a
lot
fact.
of it actually, but
Okay. No problem. And the fact is this. Uh, I do believe Stephon Diggs is. Let me pull up the numbers of Stephon Diggs real quick. Okay. For the simple fact that am I keeping you up? If so, then you can just jump off there and go back to sleep.
I
Okay.
mean,
Okay. 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 But my number 12 guy, as you can see, is Buffalo Bills wide receiver, Stephon Diggs. And as you can see, I have a few wide receivers in here.
a few.
A few, a few, a few wide receivers in here. And I think Stephon Diggs warrants being number 12, in my opinion. Now, in other people's opinion, and including Mr. FSP, he may be not in the top 12. He had 1,429 yards this past season and 108 receptions out of 154 targets with an average of 13.2 yards per catch and with 11 touchdowns. Uh, so I had to, with those type of numbers in 16 games, and he played all 16 games, didn't miss a game, with over 100 catches and with 1,429 yards. I think he warrants being number 12. What's your thoughts?
No, he doesn't.
And
But but
okay, you say no, but tell me why.
I mean, if I pull a Jerry, I'd be like, because I said no, it's my opinion, but I'm not going to do that. Um, firstly, I got to say this. Well, I got to ask the question:
Yeah.
do you believe that the wide receiver has begun to take over the first round of picks in fantasy football?
Yes.
But okay, because looking at your thing, I can start to see why you went the way you did. First, because you bumped your head and had to get stitches. So I mean, I'm gonna blame it on that. And then secondly, fantasy wise, a lot of these receivers did make up a large number of. They were on a lot of championship teams or teams that went to the championship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Because of what happened with Cincinnati and Buffalo. Diggs didn't get a chance to have a full 17. Neither did Chase or Higgins, for that matter. But okay, I don't believe he's number 12 at all. I believe he's actually a mid to second rounder.
Okay.
And the reason why is because his TD production went down. And the
Yeah.
body language that he displayed with Josh Allen the last couple games is the same body language that he did exhibit with Kirk Cousins shortly before he demanded to be out of Minnesota. So
What's the
that
body? What's the body language got to do with fantasy football production? Nothing.
very, very easily, if you think about it, either they're going to force him the ball or he's not going to get the ball because he's not getting in line. That's
Well,
what it has to do
well,
with it.
let me say this. Uh, I'd rather have him being forced the ball.
Of
Targets
course.
targets equal opportunities. Opportunities give you a chance to catch the football, regardless of how it's thrown or where it's thrown at.
Oh,
So
I agree. I agree. All I'm saying is that Diggs, he had 1,429 yards, you said. How many touchdowns did he have?
11,
Six? Or,
11,
or he had 11? Okay,
11
so that's an
touchdowns.
uptick from the year before. But um, I don't think it's going to stay trending in that direction, honestly. I don't. I think Buffalo is going to draft a receiver or get another receiver that's going to eat into that because Davis and the other kid uh, didn't prove to be, excuse me, that reliable and help. So I don't believe he's going to mimic those numbers. Just like a year or so ago when he did similar numbers to this year, he came back and he slumped, right? He didn't perform. I think it's going to be a heartbeat type deal, just like the year before.
Okay, that's one man's opinion. No problem. I understand.
But I explained it. Yes,
We move on to number 11.
yes.
Who I know that number 11 is going to be getting a new quarterback. Uh, or whoever is going to be the quarterback, maybe Jimmy G or whoever, but he's still going to be the main thing, main pass catcher in Las Vegas. 1,516 yards Devontae Adams had, and along with how many touchdowns did he have? He had 14 touchdowns, 100 receptions in 17 games, and 180 targets. He's the target monster for Las Vegas. I have him at number 11, above Stephon Diggs. Is that a good spot for him, or do you think he should be higher?
Higher.
Okay, how much higher?
Well, um, as you just said, he's going to be the target monster as well as the main recipient in Vegas, regardless of who the quarterback is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his numbers didn't fall off that much from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr, not at all. So, if anything, he is Mr. Consistent at the wide receiver. Another person got in here is also Mr. Reliable. The only problem is that the other person is coming off injury. But I think honestly, Devontae is a top 5 pick
Okay. Okay.
because
But
football is going to PPR and fantasy football that is going to PPR, and that's a PPR machine. Plus, he gets touchdowns.
okay.
So
All right. So this at number 10, who we've gone back and forth with this player at number 10. Speaking of Derrick Henry, and he's getting longer in the tooth. Let me put it that way. Meaning he's getting older, or he's at the cusp of his top production. I think it's going to uh, go down from here. He had 349 attempts, 349 attempts. And I think he's getting to be 27, 28. I think it's 28, 29, somewhere around there. That's a lot of carries for a big back. That takes a lot of hits. 1,538 yards, 4.4 yards per average. That's his lowest in 4 years, 5 years, 4 years. Okay. Uh, and he had 13 touchdowns. Now I know Mike Grable in Tennessee relies on Derrick Henry, but you can only run a freight train so much, so fast until it breaks down, regardless if it's a new one or a one that's been running for quite a while. And I got to say that Derrick Henry, this may be his last year. I said this was past year. This may be his last year as a top 10 pick. And I have him at 10 in here because I do believe that they're going to get one more year out of Derrick Henry. Hopefully he doesn't get injured, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. But at 10, I feel comfortable drafting Derrick Henry. Talk to me.
you're going to be surprised, but I agree with you.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that Tennessee is on the upswing. I also believe that Derrick Henry, especially if Taylor Lewan does get released as expected, he does not have the offensive line to push and make holes, nor is he breaking 2 or 3 tackles like he was a couple years ago. He's taking first contact and he's stumbling or he's going down, and that doesn't bode well in fantasy for a back that doesn't have that many um, yards averaging a game. Meaning he'll bust open in 1 or 2 games, then he'll go dormant in another, and then he'll bust open again. Um, I believe his numbers, his carries, are going to start to reduce as well. So when that happens, his value goes down. So I agree.
Okay. Oh, so far it's not that bad. So far it's
Exactly. Exactly.
so far it's
Mister
not that bad. But
Mister, thinking you know it all.
no, I don't think that I know it. I just, when I put together this list, I'm saying he ain't gonna like this at all. I mean, and out, you really surprised me. You come to your senses. I have to admit that.
I've come to my senses, boy. Oh my God.
About Derrick Henry. You talked the real about Derrick Henry,
I
and,
mean,
and,
the
and I
past
gotta
couple of years,
I gotta
I
give
was
it.
right.
No, you won't.
Yeah, I was.
No, you won't. But anyway, it doesn't make a
I
difference.
was.
I mean, this is just a mock draft. Anyway,
Yeah.
that number nine. This
Yeah.
guy's only 25. He's only 25. Soon to be sometime in the past year, 26. He's 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 in his, I wouldn't say in prime, but he's really close to being in his prime. 1,653 yards. I think he led the league, if I'm not mistaken. 340 attempts, which is a lot. 4.9 yards per average. And he was 12 touchdowns in Josh Jacobs. And he's going to be a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. The Raiders did not pick up his fifth-year option, and I think they're going to probably go in a different direction rather than pay this guy the amount of money he's going to want, being that he had the best year of his career. And but I have him at number 9, and I'll put it like this way: if he goes to a running back friendly team, he's number 9. If he doesn't, he's in this with he's in the second round. Let me put it that way. Because there's no guarantee if he goes to whatever team he's going to use or go to, they're going to use him like he was used in Las Vegas. So I got to say that Josh Jacobs is number 9 as long as he goes to a running back friendly team. Talk to me.
No caveats. You gotta say it with your chest. Um, and you're wrong. I don't believe he is a first rounder
Okay.
either way, because you mentioned something, and I'm surprised you're going against your own logic.
Oh, you're talking
You're
about
going against
being
your
a pass catcher.
own. No. Your own logic of 340 carries will have I mean, think about what you said in the past. Someone with 340 carries is going to have a stark drop off the following year because all that wear and tear on that one season. Josh Jacobs did very well this year. He was the catalyst for the Raiders' resurgence. Not Carr, not Adams, but him. The problem is he did 340 carries. That doesn't mention he didn't get that many receptions, but the receptions he had. Now, putting him in the top 10, not knowing where he's going to go, and the wear and tear, I got to disagree with you on that. I
Okay.
will agree that he is a second rounder. Uh, whether he's with not Oakland, excuse me, with Las Vegas, or if he's with the Patriots or somebody like that.
Well,
I can see him going to the Rams though.
let me. This is where I know what I said, but this is where it gets hairy. Okay,
I
in
know
running
what I
back.
said, but I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
mean it.
but this is where it gets hairy. I have a problem with a 28, 29-year-old running back, as in Derrick Henry is 6'3", who's had multiple 300-yard uh, attempts versus a 25-year-old, 5'10", 210, 220-year-old back who's got younger legs, hasn't been used as extensively as Derrick Henry, and has had 340 carries. 24, 25 year old back can withstand 340 carries
Yeah,
more than a 29-year-old who's been doing it several years. I think this is the most carries in my that Josh Jacobs attempts has had in his career as a pro. So even
Yeah.
even
So,
though, huh?
yeah. So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
3 years ago, you said all those carries that the then 24, 25-year-old Derrick Henry got was bad. But 3 years later, the 25, 26 Josh Jacobs getting isn't that bad. Are you saying because of his height? Are you saying why are you saying that?
No,
Because three
because
years ago you were totally against it.
yeah, you're right. Because Derrick Henry had over 300 carries consistently.
Not leading up to that third year.
Absolutely,
Three
yes,
year, 3 years ago. No, remember he became the starter outright 4 years ago,
yeah.
and
So
and
4 years
he only
ago,
had one. He only had one 260 some odd yard, not yard, but 260 carries that year. So when he did get his 340 when he was 26, 25, 26, you poo-pooed him. And the following year. So I'm like, okay, how can Josh Jacobs then not be poo-pooed when he's turning the same age, coming off a very similar year as Derrick Henry's first 300 plus carry game. 300 plus carry season. Because remember, it was that scat back. I can't remember Dion Lewis, I think it was, that was the featured back for the first couple years of Henry's career.
well,
He,
let me enlighten you here, young grasshopper. Okay, 2019, Derrick Henry had 303 carries. 2020, Derrick Henry had a 2,000-yard career, had 378 attempts.
so 3 years ago, yeah,
Yeah,
3 years ago.
yeah.
So yeah, he came off of, but that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That
Well, wait a minute.
he came off a heavy workload at the same age that Josh Jacobs did this year.
But you're missing the point. What I said in 2020 about Derrick Henry is because he had a 2,000-yard career. I mean, season, 2,000 yards season, and he was
But
going to take it. And I wait a minute. And I said,
I'm just
and
laughing, bro.
I
I'm
said,
laughing, man.
no, you can laugh. And I said he was going to get hurt the following year. And leading up, he had 8 games that he was playing. And I recall someone trying to gloat saying that Derrick Henry ain't is all that. And he got hurt in the 8th game. And I predicted the game.
Jerry,
I predicted the game he was going to get hurt.
Jerry,
He had 219 yards leading up to that, meaning he was going
Jerry.
to have more than 300 and something, maybe 400 carries going into that season. The,
So
the
so
following
again, I,
wait a
I
minute,
get I get where you're going.
wait a minute, wait a
I
minute,
get where you're
wait a
going,
minute, wait a
but
minute. Let me try to get you to understand. The reason I said about Derrick Henry in 2020 is because he had 2021, I should say, following his 2,000-yard season, is that every running back that did 2,000 yards
gosh.
either got hurt or regressed by 500 or 600 yards at least,
So
and that
so
can happen.
well, okay. No, I'm not debating that, Jerry, but that's not what we're talking about. You're talking about yards now, but the point was about carries. So if he had 370 carries to get 2,000 yards,
Yep,
that's a lot of wear and tear on his body. He had
absolutely.
303 carries the year before. I was off by 30 some odd carries. Okay, a game. I was off by a game in 2019. But the point is, we're talking about Josh Jacobs carries, not his yards, because it doesn't matter how many yards the
What?
person got. It's the carries that I'm talking about. If
Let,
you're saying that
let,
what Jacobs had, 340, 350 carries this year? How many carries did Jacobs have?
349.
349, and Henry had 370 that year.
No, 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 no,
So
no, no. Derrick Henry had 349. this past year.
No. I'm not talking about this past year. I'm comparing the ages at 25, 26 and the rushes at the same age. So you said in 2021, I mean in 2020 or 2020, I believe, because that's 3 years ago, that Derrick Henry had 370 rushes. And you're saying this year that at Josh Jacobs had 349.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So we're basically talking about 21 more rushes than Josh Jacobs. And yet the thing you're banking on is the fact that Josh Jacobs didn't get 2,000 yards and Derrick Henry did. And I'm saying no. That's
what I'm saying is Derrick Henry has had a heavier workload than Josh Jacobs.
No.
Am I right about that? Am I right about that?
Listen. I'm not debating that. That's not the debate. What we're talking about is the same age and the same amount and a similar amount of rushes at that age. We're not talking about this past year. We know the past year that Derrick Henry took a step back. We know that. That's not my defense. My defense is you said at 25, 26, Josh Jacobs is going to have a top 10 career, a top 10 year in fantasy after he's coming off of 349 rushing attempts.
Yep.
I countered that by saying just a couple years ago, 3 years ago, when I was making that same defense for Derrick Henry, you were saying, no, we had 300 plus rushes. But now you're saying, well, that and he had 2,000 yards. And I'm like, 2,000 yards doesn't make any sense.
It's a workload. It's a workload.
No, I got that. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to figure out. How are you changing?
Because it's accumulation of work.
You're missing what I'm saying. You're missing what I'm saying.
There's accumulation. Josh Jacobs carried the ball more than he ever carried the ball in his career in one season. Josh Jacobs, since he came into the league, I'm looking at it right now, in 2019, 242 yards, 2020, 273 yards, 2021, 217 yards. Derrick Henry ain't even come close to that. Derrick Henry has a heavier workload. The accumulation of workload and your age makes a difference. The accumulation of workload and age makes a difference. Now, okay, Josh Jacobs has 340 yards, the most he's had ever. Whatever team he goes to, I can guarantee you he's not going to have 340 attempts. Guaranteed. They use him because they weren't going to re-sign him. They use him. Okay? He has 340 carries, attempts for 1 year, one season. Okay? He's got a lot left in the tank. He's only 25, 26 years old. Got a lot left in the tank. Derrick Henry is on a run-heavy team who runs him into the ground each and every year. A lot more wear and tear on that 6'3" frame. A lot more wear and tear on that 6'3" frame. Big difference. Big difference. That's what I'm saying. Okay? If you, which I have, and I'm not downing you or anything like that, you got to be able to know running backs and what a running back's parameters are. They get a heavy workload. They're going to, like I said, you run a train 100 miles an hour or a car 100 miles an hour, sooner or later it's going to break down. That's Derrick Henry. You're running him 350 carries practically almost every year. That's he can't sustain that. I don't care if he's 280 pounds and can run 4.4. He can't sustain that. When you have a back that has run 350 carries in 1 year and he's 25, 26 years old, he's got more left in the tank. And with no injuries, no major injuries, He's got more left in the tank than a guy that's been pounded in and out every single year. That's what I'm saying. Now, like I said, if Josh Jacobs goes to a running back friendly team, and that doesn't mean running him 350 times a game, a running back friendly team that knows how to use running backs, within the system, like a Kyle Shanahan. Okay, if he goes to that type of team that uses the running back within the offense, and he gets 250 carries, 260, somewhere around there, he's going to be a very good back. That's it. To me, that's where he should be. 250, 260. Now, he ran him 350 times, 349 times to be exact. 340 times, I'm sorry. I don't think that's ever going to happen again in his career. Meaning he's going to have a lot left in the tank. Meaning that I'm saying if he goes to a running back friendly team, and I reiterate this again, if he goes to a running back friendly team, he's going to be a very good back. But that's the key. A running back friendly team that knows how to use a running back and not run them into the ground. You there? Hello? What happened?
Well, I was trying to tell you that somehow you dropped me, but the one thing I wanted to say about what you were saying is you talked about Josh Jacobs' first couple years in the league. Mm-hmm. Go back to Derrick Henry's first couple years in the league, because he was not used the same. And all I'm saying is, at the same age, we're talking about a 25, 26-year-old Derrick Henry versus a 25, 26 Josh Jacobs, similar numbers, and you poo-pooed it, but you're changing it to now if Josh Jacobs goes to a team that doesn't run him into the ground now. That is a totally different way of looking at it, as opposed to saying, okay, well, Derrick Henry got used and abused. Well, yeah, he did, but we don't know if Josh Jacobs is going to get used and abused wherever he goes next because of his health injuries. But
let me put it this way.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Let me
finish. Can I finish my comment, please? Can I just finish my comment? All I'm saying is that Josh Jacobs, in my opinion, he could be a bell cow like he was this year, but he can't do it on a consistent basis like Derrick Henry did and be as good as Derrick Henry was for that short period of time. I agree that Derrick Henry now at 28, 29 is not going to be the type of back that he was 3 years ago. And I will venture to say anybody that picks up Josh Jacobs and does not use him like he was used this year will not get the same type of benefit of his play as he did this year. It's not going to be the same because he's not going to have those opportunities. You see what I'm saying? If you reduce his numbers like you're talking about, he's not going to give you the production that you're looking for from a 9th overall pick. So if you're going to put him in that situation, you can't say, well, they're not going to use him that much, so that's smart. But that also means he's not going to have the ball in his hands as much.
Didn't you just hear me say more than once, over and over, ad nauseum?
If they use him correctly, yes. And that means he's not going to have the ball as much.
I have to disagree, but it is what it is. We're going to move on to number 8. How's that? Who with a player that was?
Oh, we can talk about this one.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. Look, it is what it is. Okay. And I thought he was going to have. I thought he was a second-round pick, in my opinion. Last year, he was a second-round pick, because he was on a bad team. Didn't realize, didn't know that the coach of the year would bring him out like he should have been played, uh, like the in this offense because they had limited assets, and we talked about it all year. Using smoke and mirrors to get the best out of the offense, which was Brian Dable did with the Giants, and Saquon Barkley, who had a very good year and 1,312 yards and 10 touchdowns, and played 16 games with 295 attempts. And I'm telling you now that I think he's a top 10 pick this year. I think he's top. We got the same coach. They're going to improve the offensive line, probably get more assets in the passing game, and keep Daniel Jones as the pass as a quarterback. And with that coach, I got to believe that Saquon Barkley is going to warrant being a number 8 pick in my fantasy football mock draft, and he probably is going to stay there. Now I can't say for sure, but he's probably going to stay within the top 12 throughout the rest of the months. Talk to me about Saquon Barkley.
I'm just welcoming you to the party, pal. Just welcome to the party, pal. First of all, I would tell you that it was the draft pick of that left tackle that made the difference in Saquon Barkley's play. And he's a young stud. As long as he's there and they build upon that offensive line, they'll run both Saquon and Danny Dimes if one of them's going to be there. One of them's going to get paid and one's going to get franchised.
Yep.
So I believe as long as they get another left guard or a right tackle, that Saquon Barkley will skyrocket. Leave him at 8. Okay, yeah, that's a possibility. But I believe he's going to move up. He's going to move up top 4. I got Devontae Adams 5. I got him at 4. Mainly because of his durability and not durability. I apologize. His versatility at what a running back is going to be in the NFL now.
Just know that Saquon Barkley has had 295 attempts, the most he's had in his whole career in the pros.
And how many receptions?
He's had. Hold on a minute. Let me just see here.
I think he had like 50 receptions, 40 receptions, or something like that.
He had 57 receptions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about 300 times he touched the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's equivalent.
And that's the most, other than his first year where he had 91 receptions. 2022 is the second highest career of receptions. So
okay. I mean, Saquon Barkley has a left tackle now, and we've talked about the Giants fixing the offensive line, and that'll fix a lot of problems. Smoke and mirrors, maybe, but offensive line play more likely.
okay, let's move on to the number 7. Number 7. Now, I know you're going to say, "Well, I'm contradicting myself."
Of course, because you're doing a lot.
I don't do it a lot, but I'm contradicting myself here
Again in this draft.
But at least he's not in the top 5. I got to put him in within the top 12. And this may be the, and this is just throwing stuff on the wall and see if it sticks. Maybe the only time, and I have to see, only time that I have Jonathan Taylor at number 7, coming off an ACL. More,
I can't wait to hear this explanation.
More than once.
I cannot wait to hear this explanation.
More than one. What? Just listen. Just listen. More than once, I have said I am not dealing with a running back coming off an ACL, and this is probably the only time that I'll do it. That I'll put it because and for most times I'll put him in the second, third, or fourth round. Certainly not in the first round. But something tells me in my gut. Something tells me in my gut that Jonathan Taylor is going to have a top top 7, top 8, top 9, top 10 year coming back into this with a offensive coordinator coming from an offense that was top in their top in their conference, and being able to use a good back at Jonathan Taylor. Now you have to watch out to see if they're going to use him in a committee, because I think they found out something about their backup running backs. Are they going to use him in more of a committee, or are they going to use him like he was used before as the bell cow? That's the key. I have two running backs in here, in Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor, that the jury's going to be out going into the preseason. But right now, I have Jonathan Taylor at number 7. Go ahead. I'm waiting.
I mean, man, if I could just bring up all the audio and video of what you said about Dobbins and Etienne,
I
and
wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong.
no, no. I'm just saying how the ACL never, man. I promise you, if I get the video, I'm saying, you never draft a player with an ACL. I'll never do it. I'll never put him in there. No. You can have him, not me. Listen.
This isn't a mock draft.
I know.
Preface as saying that this is probably the only time that you'll see him within the first round. Didn't I say that?
I would say this. He could be the very tail end of the first, maybe mid second. I got to see how his two things: how he heals and who his quarterback is. Because what did the coach say? We're going to throw the ball to score and run the ball to win. So that doesn't bode well for a pure smash mouth running back in Jonathan Taylor.
Sure it does.
That just means he's going to run the ball to eat clock and get first downs to kill the game, but he's going to throw to get in the end zone. That's what the coach said. That's what he said. We're going to throw the ball to score and run the ball to win.
Let me ask you a question here. Can Jonathan Taylor catch the football out of the backfield?
Not with a bum ACL.
Then can Jonathan Taylor catch the football out of the backfield? Yes, he can. So that's part of the passing game. That's part of what Saquon Barkley does too. That's part of what Austin Eckler does too.
But they're not coming off ACL injuries.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I keep on saying it, and you just don't want to listen to that.
Oh no, I like hearing that I'm absolutely right. That's what I like. I like hearing that.
Let me put it this way. This may be the only time, and I just threw things on the wall. This may be the only time that Jonathan Taylor, and I'll say it ad nauseum, only time leading up to the fantasy football season that he'll be in my mock draft in the first round. I'm just doing mock draft. This is probably this is only the second one, but this is a stark difference from my first one. So I'm just throwing things up on the wall. It's going to get fine tuned as we get closer to the fantasy football drafts. This is number 2, February. February. Okay.
Yeah, it is, and I'm enjoying it.
I know you.
I'm gonna use the video.
Because you just like picking apart a mock draft. It's a mock draft. Okay.
Well, yeah, it's a mock, but I mean, if you're gonna give me, let's say I'm your average listener, right? And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Let me start, because I want to be better at fantasy. Let me start now so I can be with the big boys.
I've always said this is February. It's going to change each and every month, and it's going to get fine tuned to what I really believe it should be come July, especially August, because fantasy football drafts start mainly in August and in September. So this is just a mock. It's pie in the sky. Okay.
It's something in the sky. I don't know if it's
It's pie
pie.
in the sky. Anyway, let's move on.
It's something in the
Let's
sky.
move on to number what I got at. Where am I at now? At number 6. And I know you got an affinity against this guy, but that's okay.
Not in
I
the
got
top 6.
at number 6. We got uh, a wide receiver, another wide receiver, and a prolific wide receiver that really had a good year. And I don't know if he needs the quarterback Tua to be back, or if it's going to be some other quarterback because Tua can't sustain himself within a league because he's too injury prone, especially concussions. But I have Tyreek Hill at number 6 with uh come on 1,710 yards and how many touchdowns did he have? 7 touchdowns, 170 targets, 119 receptions in 17 games. So he was able to play every single game this season with his average yards per game being at 114.4 yards per catch. I have Tyreek Hill at number 6. Talk to me, Mr. FSB.
Nope.
Okay.
He should be at the bottom of this round because without Jalen Waddle doing what he did, he doesn't get those opportunities. Meaning they're going to play a cover 4 and keep him from taking it to the house.
They didn't prevent him from doing that before. When Waddle wasn't there or was there?
Well, it wasn't Tua throwing him the ball either. It was Pat Mahomes. So stark
That that
difference.
that okay, wasn't Tua.
Stark
And
difference.
Tua got hurt quite a bit, so he still was performing without Tua. With
The couple games that he wasn't there,
1,710 yards.
yes, I'm okay. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is you're talking about he did it when Tua was there. What are the numbers in the games Tua didn't play? That's the key because in that playoff game, he had like 3 or 4 drops. He didn't do too well. Teddy Bridgewater didn't last that long, and I think Skyler had him for one whole game, if I'm not mistaken. But all I'm saying is he does not deserve to be in front of Saquon. He doesn't deserve to be in front of Adams. He doesn't deserve to be in front of who else you got down here? Derrick Henry. I don't think he deserves to be in front of Derrick Henry.
All right. All right. No problem. I got my opinion. You have yours. No problem. We move on to the number 5 guy, and this guy. Now, I did say the team was going to regress. The team didn't regress because they did go to the AFC Conference Championship. So I can't say they regressed, but this player did regress from his rookie year to his second year. His rookie year, he had 81 receptions, 128 targets, 1,455 yards, with an average of 18 yards per catch and 13 touchdowns. Now, he didn't regress in the amount of receptions he had, but and targets he had, but he regressed considerably in the yardage. Jamar Chase had 87 receptions compared to 81 his first year, 134 targets compared to 128 his first year, 1,046 yards compared to 1,455 yards, and an average per catch of 18 yards in his first year and only 12 in his second year, and had 13 touchdowns in his rookie year, and he regressed to 9 touchdowns in his second year. Well, I do have, because he's the main target in Cincinnati. We don't know what's going to happen with Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins. Is he going to get traded or what? But he's the main target for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati's offense. So I have him at number 5. That's my not my last wide receiver, but he's one of a few. Talk to me about Jamar Chase.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How many games did he play in his rookie season?
17.
How many games did he play this year?
Oh, I can't help that.
No, because it plays a part in the numbers. And all those numbers you just spit out, it plays a huge part.
Well,
how many games did he play?
He played in 12 games because he got hurt.
Exactly. So when you're saying he regressed,
he did regress.
Jerry, look, can I please get my analysis?
No. This is the same argument you had.
No,
same thing we had with Derrick Henry.
All I'm trying to do is, if you're going to spit out the numbers, which are accurate, don't forget a very important number.
12 games.
Because yes, so 5 games. He missed 5 games this past year, right? And yet his numbers were comparable to his rookie year. Did he regress based upon the number of games he played? Yes. But he was on pace to surpass those. He did surpass his receptions. He did surpass his yardage. He didn't surpass
his yardage.
I thought you said he had. Oh, no, because it was his receptions. I'm sorry. His receptions.
Yes.
His receptions, his targets, and something else he surpassed on 5 less games.
That was it.
Well,
he had 87 receptions compared to 81.
Correct.
134 targets compared to 128. And he had less yardage. Okay, he got hurt, but he got hurt. I can't help that.
Yeah, no, I know.
And his average per catch
went down
considerably.
Yes,
with less games.
I know. It goes down in less games, so you don't get those opportunities. That's my point.
Wait a minute.
That's my point.
You're wrong.
What do you mean I'm wrong? So you saying? Wait a
minute. You're wrong. You know why you're
opportunities don't factor in?
You know why you're wrong? He had 134 targets compared the whole year of 128 with 17 games.
Yeah.
He had 87 receptions.
Yes.
Compared to
81
with 17.
He had 6 more receptions. He had 6 more receptions than previous year. And so what I'm saying is,
so he had more opportunities. He had more opportunities.
Listen, on, what I'm saying is, you take those 5 games.
I'm not worried about the 5 games.
I understand you're not. And all I'm trying to convey to you is, if you're pushing out those numbers of what he did,
the right numbers, numbers.
Listen, I know.
If he played 12 games, if he had played 17 games,
Jerry,
he would have had. This is what you're saying. You're running at me. If
no. I'm not saying if. I'm not saying if. I didn't say if at all. You said if. All I'm saying is, if you're going to throw out the numbers,
you just said if,
Jerry, you did, and I'm trying to tell you,
you just said if.
If you're throwing out numbers, I said if, because if you're going to throw out his numbers, don't forget this number, which is also a factor. That's the point.
No fact. He played only 12
the
games.
Fact. Exactly. And what I'm trying to tell you is that I believe Chase, based upon what you're saying, that he regressed, it's not factual in the sense of his productivity, because his productivity actually went up minus the 5 games.
His productivity only went up in receptions and targets.
But was that
he did not play? He did not play 17 games.
I know.
So he regressed.
I know.
He regressed. Just Just
I
like
don't think he
Derrick
regressed.
Henry regressed when he didn't play past his 8th game in the
Well,
season he played
let me
after.
ask you a question. What do you deem as regression? Somebody that falls off, or someone that doesn't play? Because there's a difference. I view regression as somebody that falls off, not because they missed a game or two,
Well, hey,
or whatever. That's
that's
what I'm asking. What do you define
if
regression as?
if the guy does not play the whole season, he regressed. He regressed. He didn't play the whole season.
So a lot of players didn't, man.
That's
A
right.
lot of players didn't.
That's right. And some of those players put up better numbers,
Oh
even though
my
they didn't
god!
they didn't play.
But you're not saying they regressed though.
If they didn't play a certain amount of games and their numbers are less than they had in a year prior, they regress. Plain and simple.
Jerry, this is the only thing I butt heads with you on. Like, for regression purposes, this is what I view regression as.
Okay,
Someone
you have your
someone
opinion,
that doesn't
I have mine.
perform
Okay?
doesn't perform to the ability that they did previously
Can they perform?
under the same circumstances.
Can they perform if they're hurt?
Jerry, exactly. So again,
Can they perform if they're hurt? If they can't perform, if they can't perform and they can't play the games, they regress regardless of what they did.
I don't
play
buy
17.
that.
Well, okay.
I don't buy
Like
that.
I said, you just not listening.
It has no.
Like
I mean,
you have your opinion. I have mine.
So let me ask you a science question. Let me ask you a science question. This is a science question.
Stop. Let's move on.
It's just a basic science question.
We're gonna move on. Let's move on to number. You were going back and forth for what?
No, because I'm about to go to your next person.
You want to try to prove a point?
Because what I want to know. No, you're going to your next person.
This is my show. I'm going to run it like this. We're going.
Okay, let's talk about Cooper Kupp, because this is going to be interesting. Cooper Kupp's going to be real interesting based upon what you just said.
Cooper Kupp. Okay. Cooper Kupp regressed last season because the fact he got hurt. He got hurt. He didn't perform the way that you expected, and most people who drafted Cooper Kupp in the first round suffered for it because of Cooper Kupp's lack of playing time because of him suffering an injury. Okay,
JT.
This is another player that more than likely, I put him up here because he's Cooper Kupp for now. Just like I put up Jonathan Taylor because he was Jonathan Taylor. But this may be the only time, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. Only time that Cooper Kupp will be in the first round, because he suffered also, just like Jonathan Taylor, an ACL injury. And most people know how I feel about ACLs. Okay? I'm putting him up this early. And with the caveat of saying that this is probably going to be the only time. And I said this before, and I say it again. Only time he's going to be in the first round. And I'm throwing stuff up against the wall. And as usual, Mr. FSP is going to take it as gospel that I'm putting Cooper Kupp. And when I said this, it's a 2.0, meaning it's February, a mock draft in February. And I'm putting Cooper Kupp in here as a player
number 4
in the number 4 position.
Okay.
And I know that can be controversial, putting him that high up, coming off an ACL. Okay, I understand. No problem. I understand it. That's one of the reasons. Wait a minute. Just be quiet for a minute and let me tell you. That's one of the reasons I'm putting these mock drafts with these players up early to create some type of controversy. And quite naturally, I'm creating that exact controversy. Cooper Cup only had 812 yards last season and scored a measly 6 touchdowns in 9 games.
Measly? Oh my God.
6 touchdowns in 9 games. Okay. That's not Cooper Cup standards. Okay. Cooper Cup is usually in double digits in
Oh
touchdowns.
my gosh.
Over the last few seasons. Cooper Cup, and I'm getting the stat up right now. Cooper Cup scored 16 in 2021, 3 in 2020 where he played 15 games, 10 and 16 games in 2019, and before Cooper Cup really broke out, and 2017, 2018 he had 5 and 6 respectively.
So that's a heartbeat. That's not consistency.
Exactly.
That's so let
He-
me let me ask you a question. And I
Yeah.
agree with him being number 4. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna ask you a question. I agree with him being number
Yeah.
4. But what you said was so disrespectful that I gotta ask, who then was the number 1 fantasy player all season until Cooper Cup got hurt? Who was it if it wasn't him? Who? Because from my and I would say about 99% of the fantasy players until Cooper Cup got hurt, he was the number 1 overall fantasy player. Him or Justin Jefferson were battling for that. So when you say what you just said, that was so off base and disrespectful because he led the entire league fantasy wise in points scored, meaning total points for fantasy points, period. So he did not regress. He got hurt. And that was my point.
Did I say he got hurt?
But you said he regressed.
He did regress.
Jerry,
he did regress and killed a lot
Jerry,
of fantasy
let me just go back to what I was saying, because all I was saying is that Cooper Cup at number 4 is apropos because of the injury. But if not for the injury, I literally think he's number 1.
You keep saying if not for the injury.
Jerry, I'm saying
you keep
because Jerry, your whole mock draft is an if.
Wait a minute. I'm dealing with reality here.
No, you're not.
Wait a minute. You started this a few seasons ago with Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry had played a whole season.
Oh my gosh, guy.
Now you're giving me if Cooper Cup had played a whole season.
No.
They didn't. They didn't.
Listen to what I just said. I just said I believe if Cooper Cup continued what he was doing this season, he would still be the number 1 overall fantasy player.
But he didn't.
Last year, Cooper Cup was number 1 fantasy player until he got hurt. That doesn't mean he was. Again, so
is Cooper Cup
the number 1
with him is Cooper
being
Cup
at number 4?
Is Cooper Cup at number 1?
Oh my gosh.
Jerry,
wait a minute.
I
said I agree with him being at number 4. My only other stance on that is if the guy did not have the injury, he would be number 1 again.
I don't deal with ifs.
You are dealing with ifs.
I'm not dealing with ifs.
The mock draft is
you just said if he didn't have his injury. Come on, man. Stop it.
Jerry.
He did.
But I said the guy he did. I agree with you that he's number 4. What part are you missing? You
keep saying if
Jerry. I said I agree with him being number 4. That's what I said. And then I followed that by saying, had he not got injured, the man, in my opinion, would be the number 1 fantasy player this year.
Okay, good deal. All right, let's move
on.
So
you just want to fight for no reason.
Let's go number 3. Okay. And
this guy.
And this guy, in my opinion, is number 3. He had, let me bring it up here. He had a very good year, and the fact that he moved from Carolina to the San Francisco 49ers only improved his fantasy value. I mean, he was a high value pick. He was my number one pick in fantasy when he was with the Carolina Panthers. Even though some people didn't agree, fine, that's no problem. I understand. But since he moved to the San Francisco 49ers, who organization and coaching staff know how to use a running back,
I can't
who
wait.
knows how to use a running back and get the most
Yeah.
out of this multi threat running back, I gotta believe that Christian McCaffrey will be at least number three. The only problem I have is this,
Oh my
and
God.
this is real. The only problem I have, and the only uh, hesitation I have in put Christian McCaffrey number one is Kyle Shanahan uses running backs, but the running backs have a tendency to get injured consistently. Consistently. That's the problem I have with Kyle Shanahan. He knows how to use running backs, but for whatever reason, if you look over the years that he's had starting running backs, they consistently have gotten hurt. Uh, Jeff Wilson Jr., Elijah Mitchell, Raheem Mostert, to name just a few. Just understand what I'm saying. I like Christian McCaffrey on the 49ers, but Kyle Shanahan has a whatever history it is of getting running backs hurt
Man,
for whatever reason. But okay, I know you're gonna whatever. But
all I'm listen. I'm gonna run this down real quick, and I don't understand your logic, but two things. If the man McCaffrey was on a terrible team and he was number one, he's on a better team and a better system, and he's number three. I disagree. That's the first thing. Second thing, you just mentioned the Shanahan history in San Francisco. You didn't mention the Shanahan history in Atlanta or in Washington, where Alfred Morris was a mainstay, didn't get injured. Where Devontae, I forgot old boy, and his last name, I forgot his last name. Devontae didn't get injured. Used them all season long as the feature backs on both those teams.
well, let me
So
ask
the
you.
history that you're talking about is just San Francisco
Yes,
history,
exactly.
not
And he
not
and
his
he's
history
been
as a
he's
coach.
been on San Francisco's team longer than he's been with the Washington Commanders, or
He
he's
was
with.
there for 4 years in Washington as the running backs coach. I mean, not running backs coach. Yeah, I believe running backs coach and part of the offensive coordinator team with Gruden.
He's been with San Francisco longer.
Okay, I get it, but his history just doesn't lie with San Francisco, is my point. But nevertheless,
I did
this is
not
where
say
we disagree.
that.
This is where you said he has a history. You
He
said
has
his
a
history.
history in San Francisco.
I get that. That's what I was saying. You didn't say that. You said
Uh,
his
okay,
coaching history.
okay. I wish I
You
could.
said
I
it,
wish I could replay this, but okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
but all I was saying is I don't believe we're disagreeing or where McCaffrey should be because I finally believe he's number one because of the system, because of how he's being used in San Francisco and the opportunities he's gonna get. To say that he's going to drop down because of that, I don't agree with. And the fact that he was injured during the season, he regressed as well. He didn't put up the same numbers that he should have or would have been. I
Well,
mean, but he
wait.
regressed.
Wait a minute.
He regressed because he missed what,
Wait a
two
minute.
games,
Wait a minute.
3 games.
Wait a
I'm
minute.
just saying.
We had this before. We had this discussion with Nemo.
I have him number one this year.
We,
So,
okay.
but now we're switching. The thing is, we're switching opposition here. I'm defending McCaffrey. You're going against him.
I'm not.
So, you know,
I'm not going against them. I'm being real. I think I'm being realistic and understanding the running back position and the situation that he's in.
goodness.
That's what I'm doing.
Nah.
That's what I'm doing. You can
Nah.
okay.
Nah.
No problem. I mean, you know, I can't recall how many times I've been correct about certain running backs over the years, and you keep on
It's not
doing the
that
same
many.
thing. You keep doing the same old thing, which is fine, which is fine. But I'm telling you, I have reservations about McCaffrey. I like McCaffrey. You know, I like Christian McCaffrey. So when I start saying when I have reservations, in my opinion, you should listen. In my
Nah.
opinion, you should listen.
Nah.
You know how I've been in love with Chris McCaffrey for over 3 seasons. I've been on his bandwagon for a while, and you poo-pooed every time I talked about McCaffrey.
No.
But I've been right about him.
I poo-pooed
That's
you
just
naming
it.
him number one. I've never poo-pooed you about talking about him. I poo-pooed you talking about him being number one. That's the only time.
So if I'm dropping him down from one where most people are going to put him at, and most people didn't even put McCaffrey at one last season, and
Because
I
he wasn't,
did,
and he wasn't number one.
and I did. He was better than the number one back. He was better than the number one pick, Cooper Kupp or Jonathan Taylor. Come on, man.
He wasn't better than Jefferson. Jefferson was actually better than McCaffrey. So he still wasn't number
Most
one.
people weren't putting Justin Jefferson number one. Come on,
Yeah,
be
there
realistic.
were people putting Jefferson number one.
Most people weren't. Come on, man.
Okay, most people weren't, but what I'm saying is we're talking about reality. Reality is Jefferson was the number one fantasy player last year, not Christian McCaffrey.
No problem. He was the number one back.
Okay, number one back. Yes, that's a good clarification. Okay. Number one back, but not number one fantasy player.
But what I'm saying is this: if I've been on Christian McCaffrey's bandwagon for so long at the number one back, and I'm putting that number 3 in here, and you're going to fight me again on this. But that's
no, I'm not. I'm not fighting you on it. What I'm saying is, you have dropped him from the number one fantasy player
for a reason
to the number 3 fantasy player, not position. We're not talking about position here. We're talking about.
I'm trying to explain to you for a reason. Okay,
no, I heard your reason. I disagree with your reason, though.
Okay, you've disagreed before, and I've been right. Come on, man. I've been trying to tell you.
You act like that hasn't gone both ways. That has gone both ways many times.
For the most
times.
For the majority of the time, I was talking about running backs. Running backs. I've been correct. Come on. Yes. Running backs, I've been correct. And yes.
Definitely not about Derrick Henry. Definitely not about that.
Oh, you're wrong. But when I told you he was going to regress, he got hurt. I told you he was going to get hurt in the eighth game of the season. He got hurt, and he got hurt.
But that, again, that goes to our difference in what regression is. I mean, that, again.
It ain't got nothing to do with it. I told you he was going to get hurt.
Okay, yeah, listen, Jerry, I don't know why you're yelling, but getting hurt, yes, I agree. You did say he was going to get hurt by the 8th game. Yes, but a regression, that's why I said we have a difference. I differ in what a regression is versus injury.
If you can't, regardless of what the circumstances are, if you can't reperform for certain parts of the season and your numbers drop, you've regressed.
Every player then regresses then, Jerry. You just can't label one player or two players as a bust or whatever because they got injured.
If a player plays the whole season, puts up certain numbers, whatever their numbers may be, I could care less what the numbers are, and he comes back the following season and gets hurt and doesn't put up close to those numbers. Now, I'm not saying exact numbers, but close to those numbers, he's regressed.
So,
he's regressed.
Listen, I'm not debating the fact that the numbers have fallen off, but the circumstances aren't the same. You just pointed out the circumstances. You just said if a player plays a whole season and puts up certain amount of numbers, you don't care about the numbers, neither do I. But they come back the following season and they get hurt, they've regressed. I don't understand how you think that's not different because you just said it yourself.
Well, it's different.
You just said it yourself.
It's different because they got hurt, but they didn't.
Yes, but they got hurt.
Okay, so
they didn't play the full season like you stipulated.
They didn't play the full season, so they regressed. They got to play the whole season. Come on, man. They have to play the whole season. If they didn't play the whole season, for whatever reason, they have regressed. Plain and simple.
Again, we differ on what
Yes,
regression
I
is.
told you we different. Okay.
No, I've been through that, but your logic
Okay.
based upon that is,
in
my opinion,
we have it. We
is
have a different
it's
opinion.
very difficult
We
to
have a
understand.
different. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your difficulty in understanding. I apologize. but you have your opinion. I have mine.
I can't wait till we get to number one, because number one, you have been so wrong for so long. But I can't wait for you to say, Vic, you were right. But I doubt if you do that. But go ahead. Go and get to number two.
Number two, Justin Jefferson. He's put up solid numbers since he got into the league.
Number one fantasy player last year.
He's put up solid numbers.
Didn't he get MVP Offensive Player of the Year this year too? I think he did, right?
Okay. Look, I said he put up solid numbers.
I'm asking because I'm not sure.
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
all right.
he did. Okay.
Was it Christian McCaffrey or Justin Jefferson?
He had.
Okay.
The receiving yards for Justin Jefferson were 1,809 yards, with 128 receptions at 184 targets, 14.1 yards per catch, and only 8 touchdowns. Only 8 touchdowns. Half the amount of times he didn't. He had some very bad games throughout the season, and that hurt him in the touchdown part of his game. But he did receive the Offensive Player of the Year, and in some circles, he was the number one pick in fantasy, among others, especially in wide receivers over Cooper Kupp. Justin Jefferson, number two. Talk to me.
It's real simple. You said all his accolades already. His accolades are his accolades, and it's nothing to change about that because he was successful, very successful.
I had 6, if I'm not mistaken. Half my draft in the first round was with wide receivers, if I'm not mistaken. That leads me to number one, Austin Eckler. And I'll say this, probably next week, probably just like I talked about Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp, this is probably the only time that I'll have Austin Eckler at number one. Probably be the only time I'll have Austin Eckler at number one, leading to into the following months. I'm not. I had put Austin Eckler at somewhere, and I put him at number one this month, being that he's a pass catching back, but he's not a bell cow. And I think they're going to start incorporating other backs in the running portion of their offense, especially with Joe Lombardi not being there and another offensive coordinator. I think they're going to be using Austin Eckler more in the passing game and sporadically in the running game because he's not built that way. He's more of a pass catching back. But I'm putting it at number one this month. But more than likely, leading into February, he will not be at the number one position. Talk to me.
Well, I mean, speaking of being right about running backs, I've been right about this kid for so long. Somebody been so wrong. And just like you said, you have a feeling about CMC. I got a feeling about Eckler. I don't like the situation whereas you're changing your offensive coordinator.
Nope.
I don't like the fact that Kellen Moore does not like to run the ball at all. He likes to throw it.
Yep.
And even though Eckler is a receiving threat, I think he had like 60-something receptions this year. He was one of the top receivers on the team, actually, and the leading rusher at the same time. He was close to doing what LaDainian Tomlinson did several years ago, uh, um, as well as Marshall Falk. He was close to 1,000 and 1,000. I'm not sure if he made it that way, but that was under Lombardi. Kellen Moore is just look at what Tony Pollard did, and you can say, well, that is possibly what can happen with Eckler, but with less talent. And the reason why I said that is because there may not be a Keenan Allen on that team this year. Contract, too much, gotta go. And they gotta find a way to fix that offensive line. So Austin Eckler, in my opinion, drops to probably the 5th or 6th pick overall, in my opinion. So again, like you said, you probably not gonna have him in there next week or next month. But the fact that you got him at number 1 says that you saw something and you believe in something that you didn't for the past 4 years that I've been touting about this kid. He is dynamic. It's unfortunate they're changing offensive coordinators on him. And another thing to think about is they're changing the quarterback coach. Justin Herbert will not be the same. They're changing the quarterback coach and the offense. So I'm not banking a lot on the Charger offense this upcoming season until I know for sure how they're going to use Eckler as well as Herbert, and if Keenan Allen's going to be there or not.
Well, I'll tell you this.
And I was right.
Austin Eckler had 911 yards in 2021 and 915 yards in 2022. So he has his limits. In receiving, in 2022, he had 107 receptions with 127 targets, 722 yards. In 2021, he had 70 receptions, 94 targets, and 647 yards. Not. I'll put him up here right now, but to me, he's probably going in the next coming months. He's probably going to drop down to 10 or 12, somewhere around there, because I think he's going to have a dramatic drop off. He's going to be more of a committee back versus the type of back they use him now. Because the fact is, in his career, Austin Eckler, starting in 2017, had 47 attempts, 106 attempts, and I'm going in 18, 132 in 2019, 116 in 2020, 2021 with 206 attempts, and in 2022 he had 204, meaning he is a 200 attempt back on average, maybe less. Meaning he's not, and the last 2 years he had 200 attempts under Joe Lombardi with 900 and something yards. That's not going to happen from now on. And I think, in my opinion, I haven't won now based on his last season numbers, but reflecting on that and going forward, I have him maybe in the top 10, 12. Maybe.
Are you
Maybe.
kidding? Are
Nope.
you kidding me, man?
Nope.
Maybe.
Look. I'm looking at his history, man. I'm looking straight at his history. Now, he hasn't had more than 206 attempts. He hasn't had more than 206 attempts. Now, that means he hasn't been used that much. That means they know his limitations. He's not a big carry back. To use more in the passing game, meaning he's not going to get that many more attempts past 206. That's going to limit his opportunities. That's going to limit his fantasy production. Plain and simple. You're right when you say I got to look at what's going to be the Chargers offense with Justin Herbert under Kellen Moore, because I don't think they're going to be as prolific, in my opinion, as they were in the past. Kellen Moore, I'm not a big fan of, and you got a coach I'm not a big fan of either, a defensive-minded coach in Staley. So,
Well,
running backs going to be used more in the committee.
Again, you can drop him. It's your rankings and stuff like that. I caution you and those that feel as though he's not a top 5 to top 10 player. Um, no matter what happens with him, he's going to be what the offense runs through, especially if Keenan goes away. Especially if he goes away. But again, it is your decision and your mock.
Well, let me ask you this question, since you really like Austin Eckler. You
I
think
didn't like him this year. I just said it. I've been right about it for the past 4 years.
Well, it is what it is. Anyway, you think he's going to get over 200 attempts, carries going forward each year?
Yeah, I think he will. Will it be by committee? Maybe, but I think he'll, because he's such a big part of the passing game, and he is the featured back. Yeah, I truly believe that he's going to get over 200 rushing attempts.
Well, let me ask you this: in Kellen Moore's offense, you think he's a featured back?
Yeah, I just told you. Look at Tony Pollard. Okay, I view Tony Pollard and Austin Eckler in the similar vein, except Austin Eckler is proven to be dynamic and can handle the workload. And Pollard is one of those guys that he fit that system really well. And when he couldn't handle it because his body started to break down, they brought Zeke back in to pound the ball. So I believe Austin Eckler can do it, and I believe they're going to give him the ball because he's proven he can take a pounding of 200-plus rushes, plus catch the ball 60, 70 times a season.
60, 70 times a season, I can see that. 200-plus touches, I don't see that. He's only done that twice in his career. All the other times have been mid-100s. All the other times have been low or mid-100s.
Well, like I said, I see him doing it, especially in Kellen Moore's system, because if I look at what Tony Pollard did, because that's the comparison of the backs from Dallas that Kellen Moore had to work with.
And he'll be 28.
Okay, that's fine. But he's still a beast in comparison to the backs that he has in L.A. He has a proven running back and a couple guys that might do something. I believe one's coming off injury, the rookie. And he had Joshua Kelly's no longer there. I think Joshua Kelly went to Detroit. But there was another
Justin Jackson.
Yeah. Jackson went to Detroit. But there was another running back they had. But the proven one is Eckler. And he'll get the ball 200 times. In my opinion, I think that's a safe assurance.
Okay. When we go to the neighborhood,
and he stayed healthy all season too.
When we go to the neighborhood, I'm waiting for you to just draft Justin Eckler.
There's no Justin Eckler.
Austin Eckler. I'm sorry.
If he's available when I get a chance to get him, I will. Is he my top guy? No, I just told you that. I think he's fifth and below, but definitely not at the end of the first round. That's ridiculous. That is laughable.
Well, everybody has their opinion. Opinions is just like, you know what? Everybody's got one.
Yeah, especially those that think that Eckler ain't that good.
Well, I've been right about running backs for quite a while, so
I've been right about Eckler for quite a while. Yeah. Look at you. Look at you.
10, 13 years is a better ratio than 4, 5. But that's okay.
Oh my goodness.
I understand. All right, people. All right. We had a lively discussion here.
Of contradictions.
Hey, that happens. It happens. We just have to deal with it. That's all. I want to thank everyone for joining me. For those who listen, I want to thank Mr. FSP for the confrontation. I appreciate it.
Confrontation, really?
Yeah.
Hold on. First of all, you promoted the show by saying, I know he's not going to like it. I know it.
Yes, I knew
he's
not going to like it. But
and then when I started agreeing with you, I'm surprised.
I'm surprised. Yes,
but then when I give you what you want, you get upset.
I think it's
contradiction.
But whatever. It is what it is. Tune in next week, people. We'll be on 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, BFSP show on Saturday, and on 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday morning. We'll be talking about whatever the subject matter is. Mostly is a lot of sports, but we talk about fantasy sports and politics on Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talk strictly fantasy football Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Both on YouTube. There's multi-platforms on 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the FSP show. And Mr. FSP, if you'd like to promo that show on how many platforms that you are on 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, you could do so.
All right. So every Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, you can catch Fantasy Sports and Politics either on Facebook. Just go find Victor Gardner. On YouTube, again, look for Victor Gardner. On Twitch, look for VICHBK. On LinkedIn, again, look for Victor Gardner. Also on Twitter, you can find us at Fantasy Sports and Pal. Just like I am Mr. FSP to you, that's JT ATM the money.
Oh, you were the money. I appreciate that,
dude. I just gave you a compliment, and then you're gonna try to throw shade. See, look at that.
No, you were the money. You were the money. I'm saying you're the money. I'm not throwing shade on you. You weren't taking it.
I was saying you're the money, as in the money man. Like, but you want to say
no,
you're the money. You're the money man. Now I take it back. Now I take it back.
See ya.
You are crap.
See ya.